Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about my February reads. Oh, I'm very excited. I read some really good books this month, so let's get right into it. So the first book that I read this month was A Court of Silver Flames, Nesta's book. It was so good. I really and truly loved it. It is right on par with A Court of Mist and Fury. If you saw my last video talking about my ACOTAR full review, I talked a little bit more in depth there about my opinion and my thoughts, but I loved it. It is right on par with A Court of Mist and Fury for different reasons, but definitely, like, I can't pick between the two. I really loved the strength and determination. I loved the third person dual point of view. Like, I loved that aspect of the book. It was really cool to read it in that sense of you were getting both perspectives but not in their heads kind of thing. I really liked that. I loved the chemistry between her and Cassian. I loved watching her become a really strong woman. I found her story so inspiring, and even more so than Feyre's. Feyre's was a love story and Nesta's was a personal growth story, and that was really special to read. I'm very excited for the next book to come out of that series. I know it's coming out soon, and I'm very excited to read the other two series of hers. So yeah, that was my first book. I rated that one a 5 stars, of course, because it was so good. I loved it. So the next book I read after A Court of Silver Flames was called Expanded Roster, and I read that on my Kindle. It's on Kindle Unlimited. It is a Why Choose sports romance. It was interesting. I think that it definitely wasn't my favorite. I rated that 2 stars. It was just kind of... So I read Pucking Around, and that was very well done. I read that last year. I thought that was very well done. This felt the same, but like on the lower level of writing skills. So I liked the idea behind it. I liked the premise, but it didn't really hit for me. It was okay. It's hard to write for people in a relationship, so take with that what you will. It was baseball, which, like, baseball to me is not really my favorite sport to read about. I like reading about hockey, I like reading about football. Like, baseball just it's not the same for me as reading about hockey. So it definitely wasn't my favorite, but it was a okay read. I read the whole thing, I didn't DNF it. So I rated that 2 stars, and that was the next book that I read after A Court of Silver Flames, and it just kind of fell flat, which was okay, because the book I read after that, I read Butcher and Blackbird. I also read that on my Kindle, and let me tell you, that book was amazing. Oh my god, that book was so good. It was the perfect mix of, like, kind of gory, gross, and romance. Oh my god, it was so good. I am itching for Leather and Lark to come out because of how much I loved Butcher and Blackbird. It was so good. I loved the ending. It was so sweet, and I've heard that the audiobook is just as good because the voice actors have an accent, or he does. Oh my god, I want to listen to it, but I have so many books already that I want to read and listen to. So anyway, I loved that book. It was so, like, intense, and I loved the time span of the whole thing and the kind of miscommunication kind of trope, and, like, the fact that they both had feelings, and oh, it was so good, and I just really loved it. It was such a good book to read. It was very light-hearted, which for books like that, they kind of have to be for me to want to read them, because otherwise it's just, like, kind of dark and gross and gory and, like, not really it doesn't really do much for me when they're gross and gory like that, but the characters had very good chemistry, so it was easy to read. It was very like playful, and so that was a really good read, and I rated that 4 stars. It was so good. My review for this says, forgot how much I love fictional men and women with no remorse and a good killing streak. I just loved it. So the book I read after Butcher and Blackbird, I also read on my Kindle. I read a lot of Kindle books this month, and I feel like it was because I read most of ACOTAR throughout January, and so I was reading like big, thick, physical books. So I just needed my Kindle, my sweet baby Kindle. I just love her. Anyway, the next book I read was Twisted Hate. That's number 3 in the Twisted series. That's Josh and Jules' book. Oh my god. I loved it. It was so good. I rated that 4 stars. I think that their chemistry was so good. And I've said that about all of these books, but the characters were just so well placed. It was so good. I loved the like fight, like bicker part of their relationship, even like their friendship and then the relationship. I thought that was so like, I like ate it up. It was so good. That book was so long, but it was so worth the read. Like it was just, it felt so, I don't even know how to explain how much I loved that book. It was so good. The writing is perfect. I love her writing. It's amazing. And I loved, this is a big part of her books and how she handles trauma in her books. I think that that's very delicate. It's hard to get right, especially when you're writing romance. You really have to try to make it a good, like powerful statement through trauma, and she does it so well. I really enjoyed that aspect of reading her books. Trauma is not handled lightly. It is delicately placed in these books, and it's handled with care. It's not shown any sort of distaste. It is never disrespected. It's so important that trauma is handled with care, and these books very much highlight that. I've noticed that with all of the books in the series so far, and this is the only series that I've read of hers, so I'm not sure about other series how much trauma is handled in the books, but I have great respect for a writer who can make trauma readable without triggering to anybody else. I think that it's extremely hard to do, to talk about in general, but to talk about it with such ease in a book is very special. So yeah, I really enjoyed that book for those reasons, and I think I mentioned it already, but I rated that 4 stars as well. So the next book I read was a physical book. I read The Engagement Party. Now this book is perfect for the girlies who are a little bit fraidy cat of like mystery thriller horror books. This is like the perfect like mix of just like a little tiny taste of thriller horror, and it still got me going. I think my favorite part of this book was that it was multiple POV, so I think that there was 4 different points of view, and that made it really like intricate and good to, because it's like a mystery whodunit kind of thing. It was really good to see the characters play off of each other in that sense of reading from different people's perspectives and getting 4 people's perspectives, and then there were still a couple in the group that we weren't getting the perspective of, so I found that very enthralling. I really liked that, and I gave that one to my sister to read. For me, it was like scary enough. Like I was scared in my own home, but that's just me on a regular day. So for somebody who's like very into thriller horror books, it probably would be extremely mild, but for me it was perfect. I loved it. I thought that it was a great book. I rated that 3.5. And the final plot twist of this book really got me. I was not expecting to be gotten so good by this book, but it got me good. But my sister, when she read it, she said that she guessed it. So I guess it depends on the person, but I really enjoyed it. I thought that it was a great book, thought it was a great read. I read it in a day, so it was very quick. And oh, this is also so good about this book. Watch this. This is the ultimate floppy book. I love floppy books, and this was the perfect floppy book, and I did nothing to get it this way. I just got it. Like, when I picked it up, it was like this. This was also one that I got in the Little Libraries video, and if you haven't seen that, go check it out because it was actually really good. I got a bunch of good books from it. So yeah, definitely check that out. So the next book I read was another Kindle book. It was Love Contract by Sophie Lark, and that just came out this month, this February. I think it came out on the 21st of February. It was banging. It was such a good book. Fake dating, which I'm extremely into right now, which I didn't anticipate because it wasn't always my favorite trope, but I'm very into the fake dating right now. I really love it. But yeah, fake dating, just like forced proximity kind of things. Oh, it was so good. I really liked it. Their chemistry, again, was really great. Again, an author that handles trauma very, very well. Trauma and like stressful situations and like struggle, and addiction very, very, very well. I really enjoyed reading through her writing of the situation. And the book itself, the story was very sweet. It was very like, the characters were lovely characters. It wasn't like you didn't like any of the characters. They were all very sweet and lovely. Well, I mean, there's one character that you don't like, or maybe two, but they're on purpose. But the main characters, you really like them. They're great to read. I really enjoyed the writing. She has very great writing. I am obsessed. The main character's name, the female main character's name is Theo. I freaking love that. I'm obsessed with like typically male names for girls. I think that I've been obsessed with that. Dylan was the first name when I was very young that I was like, oh, I love that name for a girl. Like, I love Dylan for a girl, and so Theo for a girl. I was shocked. I was blown away, and I love it. It suits the character very well. The name is so perfect. I never would have thought of Theo for a girl, but I think that it is so perfect. Oh, I just loved that part of it. It really was a great, great read. Highly recommend her books, but this one is, she typically writes, I think, very like darker romance, but this was very light, and I think it's a series of 3, I believe. It's either 3 or 4. I think it's 3, but I think that it is such a good series. I can't wait for the next ones to come out. I think that they're going to be really good books, so definitely check that one out. And I think I rated that a 3.5 as well. The last book that I read was also a Kindle book. It just came out on Kindle recently. It was like not on Kindle for a very long time, and it just got published onto Kindle. The first book of the series is not on Kindle, which is very upsetting, but that's okay because the second book of the series is, and you can read them out of order, I think. Doesn't change too much. I don't know, I haven't read the first one, but this was such a good book. I rated this a 5-star read. It was so good. It is yours truly. It was so good. I am a Grey's Anatomy stan. I have been watching Grey's Anatomy since probably before I should have been watching Grey's Anatomy. I haven't been watching the recent seasons because I don't have the streaming site for it, but I have always been addicted to Grey's Anatomy. I love Grey's Anatomy. I love medical drama. I love the relationship aspect of medical drama, and that is what yours truly is. So they're both doctors. They both work in the ER, and they're fake fucking dating. They're fake dating. It was so good. And the anxiety is also treated very well in this book. I've been reading a lot of good books that have a lot of delicacy when it comes to trauma, mental health, all of the things. And I've been very much enjoying reading about that. So the anxiety is very well dealt with in this book. Past trauma is very well dealt with in the book. I don't want to give too much away because it's just like such a good read that I want everybody to read it, you know? I think that a book that really traumatized me for the ending of this book was If He Had Been With Me. This book has me like traumatized for any sort of like ending tragedy, but I'll just say that it wasn't a tragic ending. I had geared myself up so badly for it to be a tragic ending that I was actually preemptively sobbing about the ending that didn't actually end up happening. So I don't know what that says about me, but it definitely ended very nicely. It was not a tragic ending. It was not traumatic. It was a beautiful ending. It was a great book. So spoilers if you're gonna read the book, but definitely recommend it. It's on Kindle Unlimited now, but it was on my list previously, but it hadn't been on Kindle Unlimited. And then I saw somebody posted on Instagram that it was on Kindle Unlimited, so I had to snap it up and read it, and that was exactly what I did. My least favorite read of the month was definitely Expanded Roster, and that was just, I already explained why. It's just didn't really hit for me, and that's okay. Not all of them are gonna hit for everybody, and so it just wasn't my favorite. I ranked it the lowest. My favorite books, my favorite books this month were A Court of Silver Flames, of course. That one, I didn't expect it to not be my favorite. And then also Yours Truly was amazing. So those would be my two favorite books, and then my least favorite. But yeah, I do want to talk about two other books though, because I am reading them right now, and I'm probably going to finish one, if not both of them, before the end of the month, even though it's the 28th right now and we only have one day left. So the first one that I'm reading this one's the one that I don't know that I'm going to finish, but I probably will. It's He's Not My Type by Megan Quinn. This is also a Kindle book. I've read another one in the Agitator series, and I liked that. So I'm reading this one. I think I'm like 20% into it. It's kind of taking me a while to get into it. Yeah, I'm 18%. I have 5 hours left, so I might not finish this because I've got another one on the go that I am absolutely fucking addicted to. I'm halfway through it. And if you haven't guessed already, it came out, I think it came out this month. Bride. I'm like halfway through. Yeah, I'm like halfway through. And it is gonna be one of my favorites of the month, this book. Oh my god. Edward Cullen vibes, but not. But Edward Cullen vibes, but not. Like, it definitely does give a little bit, like, a hint of Twilight vibes, but it's so different, and I think that that's really special when you're talking about books that do vampire, werewolf sort of tropes. They have to have some sort of difference because Twilight was so revolutionary for vampire, werewolf kind of things. So if they're not done right, they're just gonna be like, they're gonna fall flat because Twilight was so good. But this book is so good. It is not falling flat at all. It has got, I honestly have not really thought about Twilight while reading this book. There's key differences that make it a different book and make it just so enjoyable to read. I don't want to give anything away of it because I haven't read much yet, so I don't want to give out any hints or whatever. But what I will say is it's arranged marriage, and that is really cute. Loving that. And it's kind of like, looks like could kill you, but is a cinnamon roll kind of vibes for the male main character. And she is so funny, the female main character. I also love her name. Misery is her name, Misery Lark, and I love it. I love when her name is used by the male main character, whose name is Lo. Like, I just love her name, Misery. Like, I mean, it's a tragic name to have, but it, like, they reference that in the book. So I just, read it. It was on sale at my Indigo, so might want to go see if it's on sale at your bookstore. I can't wait to go and read this soon. Like, I'm planning to finish it today, if I'm honest. But yeah, these were my books of the month. I have a very, very exciting video coming out next week as well that I'm not gonna give any hints on, but I think that it is gonna be a very fun one to shoot as well as to edit and to watch, of course. But definitely come back for next week's video and see what we're up to. Thank you so much to everybody who has been a new subscriber, who has watched my videos, who has shown me support over the last couple of months. I'm eternally grateful for the support that I'm getting. And I am excited to continue on this journey that I am traveling, and I'm glad that I get to take everybody with me. So I want to say another big thank you. And if you want to continue following on other socials, they're linked in the description below. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you had a great February for reading, and I hope you have a great March for reading. Bye!